Will you open your eyes? It's a wonder.
For now, though, we're going to have to move on. We've got Jason in Tampa.
Hi guys, how are you?
How you doing?
Good. I wanted to hear your discussion on the accommodationist movement that's kind of been going on with various scientific institutes and organizations like the National Academy of Sciences, NCSE, and a few others. And they're presenting this idea that religion and science are not in conflict, and publishing these things in some of their publications.
If I understood the question, he's asking, and I only heard part of it, he's asking why are science organizations now rallying to say that there is not a conflict between religion and science?
Right.
Okay. Well, because realistically there isn't. I mean, we're all free to believe anything that we want, and we don't necessarily have to have a reason for our own personal beliefs. At any time that you want to state that I believe anything, you're welcome to do that. And Venom Fang X, one of the guys on YouTube once upon a time, complained that atheists were prohibiting him from saying that maybe there's a God. And I don't disagree with that. Go ahead, say so. I'll even say it with you. Maybe there is. The problem with assertions of that kind is when you drop the word maybe. When you state as fact that which is merely a personal speculation, that is something that I can only define as dishonest. You can't say that there is something until you can justify that comment. If you can't justify that comment, you're welcome to say that you believe that, but you have to preface the assertion with the words I believe, and then I have nothing to argue with you about it.
And I'm mostly on exactly the same page. My thing is that when we're talking about the actions taken by some science organizations that we're labeling accommodationist, to say that there's no conflict, I think that claiming that there's no conflict is an assertion that's not necessarily true. It's true in some cases. It's true in many cases.
Let's say that there needn't be a conflict.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Yeah, and you said that when you answered that there's not necessarily a conflict. Instead, what I think we're seeing is in areas where there's clearly a conflict, where some religious organization or some theistic movement is asserting that they have some answer that is in direct opposition to the scientific evidence. I think there are people who are willing to just say, you know, we all have our own views about how things. No, I'm sorry, I can't buy that at all. You're entitled to have whatever view you want.
No,
but your view doesn't have any bearing on what's real.
I think the ideal religious belief would be to assume that there is some force beyond what we understand. Okay, fine, I accept. There's definitely things beyond what we understand. We don't know everything. Granted, I'll accept that too. When you want to assert then that all of the science that we know and all the facts that we can show are actually wrong because your particular favorite interpretation of whichever fable you most like. You know, I think that's where the problem comes in, is where it becomes dogmatic. You're defending a story against the disproof of the story. Now, it doesn't disprove God. You have to understand that whether God exists or not is irrelevant. I mean, we are still evolving apes, and the stories detailed in Genesis are still false either way. And your God's existence does not change that.
Yep. And the second half of Jason's question was our opinion on atheism versus anti-theism. And I guess it depends in part how you would normally define it. I often label myself as an anti-theist. I'm an atheist, and I'm also an anti-theist. It's not a mutually exclusive thing. And when I say that, I mean that by and large, I find theism to be divisive, harmful, and false. And therefore, I stand in opposition to that. I don't necessarily assert anything approaching absolute certainty that every theistic claim is necessarily false, or that these claims are of an impossible nature, although some of them, I would say, are of an impossible nature, the same like a square circle.
In one of my videos, I did a discussion about Godzilla, All right, what if we propose that Godzilla exists? We just say that he exists. We come out and say Godzilla exists. Is that an honest statement? We don't have any evidence to back it up. We have substantial evidence to go against it.
It's not honest.
It's not an honest statement. So how is it an honest statement to say there's a God? You can't prove Godzilla doesn't exist. You can look everywhere. You haven't looked everywhere yet. There's some place in the Marianas Trench there might be a Godzilla. You can't, But if it's dishonest to state that anything else exists for which there is no supportive evidence, and why is it not dishonest to say that God exists? Same thing. I'm sorry. I'm sidetracking again.
No. It's a better way of phrasing the same thing I was saying. I think, Jason, did that get to both your questions?
Yeah, that was sufficient. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks a lot for calling. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
The content of this video is produced by the Atheist Community of Austin, a nonprofit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. If you enjoyed this content and are willing and able to provide a donation, please visit the website below.